Dear students, good morning. Welcome to La Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 21st September 2020. The first article for discussion is It's No Green Signal from the Farm World. This article discusses about the farm bills introduced in the parliament. You know that there is a lot of opposition to it. It intends to deregulate the agricultural prices and also remove the agricultural producing marketing committees. It means that mandis or markets can stay outside the market committee's control. So, this deregulation is going to help the farmer or not? Why so much of agitation exists from the farmers' groups and opposition parties? Let us try to understand over here. First is there is no sufficient debate or discussion surrounding these bills. So there is no effort made by the government to remove the apprehensions of farmers. And next is there are fears that these bills will take away the minimum support price assurances given to the farmers. Today, farmer need not worry about the buyer of his product. The government assures certain procurement price and based on that he can be safe. Is MSP does always good to the farmer? Probably not. In agriculture, the farmer is more guided by the MSPs and sows those crops, makes those crops. Now, what we need is an open competition and let the market forces and market demands create what crop has to be made by the farmer, grown by the farmer. So there are also fears that larger agenda of corporatization of agriculture exists with the government. Let me put it this way. When Adanis and Ambanis are coming into food processing, agriculture, and food retail, this corporatization contract forming is going on. That is another fear. And next, APMCs today play an important role in price discovery for farmers. Lack of regulation in non APMC mandis, which are going to come up, or I can say private mandis, can make the farmers exposed to exploitation. And finally, how did this kind of deregulation work till now in agriculture, wherever it is attempted? Let us see the Bihar example in basmati rice. In Bihar, APMCs were abolished in 2006. After abolition, farm gate prices got decreased below the MSPs, and basmati price has dropped 30% in spite of higher international prices. In this context, doing away with APMCs can lead to increase in middlemen or cartelization and finally fall in agricultural prices. That is what is the apprehension. The next article for discussion is Define the contours of hate in speech. You know that in India there is no legal framework or legal definition of hate speech. There are many complications in distinguishing what is offensive speech and what is hateful speech. So we know there is a criminal conduct with regard to hate speech if it incites violence in India. On the other side, you have right to free speech. And right to free speech can be allowed to get on to the limits of hate speech? Probably no. We have reasonable restrictions. What the hate speech does, it kills dignity for all communities and also public good that is created due to inclusiveness in a given society. In USA, there is a counter argument. The solution for hate speech is not regulating the speech but giving more speech. So, giving more freedom of speech, what it does, it gives the power to a community that is attacked to counter-attack it. It means it is assumed all the communities will be more or less equally powerful in a given country or a given society. But a majority voice will be much stronger to demonize a minority voice. So the power among the communities is not equal. That is the point we need to remember. Hate speech is not in accordance with the tenets of our constitution. What are the tenets? Liberty, equality, justice, fraternity, and secular values of our constitution do not fit into demonizing another community. In India, you know that incitement to violence is hate speech. But many a times, hate speech may not immediately lead to violence. Over a period of time, the accumulation ultimately ends up into demonizing a community, development of a prejudice, and accumulation of fixed mentalities and opinions on a given society, and it leads to the worst or communal attacks or communal violence at a certain point of time. In this context, our position on hate speech is very relaxed or liberal. So that's the reason why we need to adopt a clear definition to hate speech, which has to be comprehensive. So that's where Jeremy Walden he has given a definition. Let us see that hate speech refers to utterances that incite violence, hatred, or discrimination. In India, we are talking about incitement to violence. It is not just incitement to violence, it also shall have hatred or discrimination against people or a community or a collective identity. Either it is discrimination, hatred, or violence, then we shall consider it as hate speech. As per this, merely offensive statement do not qualify as hate speech, but discrimination of a community or a group that hurts their sentiments and collective identity that comes under hate speech. Next is China's nationalist turn under Xi Jinping. This is a book review. The book name is India's China Challenge, a journey through China's rise and what it means for India. The highlights of this book are this. During Xi era, there is enormous centralization of power. The demarcation between the state and party almost come to an end, and entire party is organized into certain large or leading small groups, LSGs, and these are the decision making units. And Mr. Xi himself heads many of the LSGs. So this clearly shows that one person is dominating the authority in China. During Deng era, collective leadership is what appraised or appreciated in China. So Xi has put an end to this collective leadership. Previously, Politburo Standing Committee used to have the say in many of the decisions. Next is Xi is looking on nationalism for his legitimacy. Previously, Deng he thought that economic prosperity and material well-being to the people will give legitimacy to the Communist Party. Today, Xi is not thinking that way. So, nationalism is essential for legitimacy and unity. So, that's why he is rejuvenating the Chinese dream and a great Chinese nation idea to the people. Next is fair and unfair. This is about contempt of court. The Madras High Court judge, he wanted to issue contempt notices to actor Surya on his comments. In this, when a contempt of court has to be initiated, so that's where the opinion of the Hindu is contempt of court proceedings have to be initiated. Only any utterances cause obstruction of justice or hinders the administration of justice. Fair or unfair criticism, that subjective opinion shall not be a basis for initiating contempt proceedings. The next article is Great Power, Little Responsibility. Now, see, who are the biggest sellers of arms to the world? China, Russia, USA. China is involved in small arms race. Russia and USA are involved in big ticket weapons. So these countries maintain large military industrial complexes. In this case, do they like to bring in peace or raise the tensions between the countries? If the tensions are raised between the countries, more arms will be saved, more jobs will be created, there is economic prosperity to them. It means by being permanent five, we expect them to maintain peace. But if we see there is a clear conflict of interest for these countries, so they try to rise the tensions. If you take either Libya, for that case Yemen, Syria, or Sudan, everywhere these major powers which are part of UN Security Council are involved in one or the other way in raising the tensions, and this is what is fueling the necessary orders to their military industrial complexes. That is the article talks about. Next is amid fierce protests, Rajya Sabha passes two form bills. What are they? You know, one is about trade and commerce. That the other is about farm services and price assurances bill. These two are being passed in Rajya Sabha. These are passed by voice vote. And when the members of opposition have requested for a registered vote or a recorded vote, deputy chairman did not allow for it. That's why no confidence motion was introduced against him. Next, this is an important article, news item for the day. Government tables bill to amend FCRA. FCRA stands for Foreign Contributions Regulation Act. You know, it is being regulated and restricted to scrutinize the foreign contributions coming into India. Today, further amendments are being made. Aadhaar is made mandatory identification document for all office bearers, directors, and other key functionaries of an NGO or association which is receiving foreign donations. Second, the bill proposes to include public servant and corporation owned or controlled by the government among the list of entities that are not eligible to receive foreign donations. Why this has been made? Miss Indira Jai Singh, when she was additional solicitor general, she has got or she has received the foreign contributions for Lawyers Collective, an NGO she is heading. So the matter was taken before the court and she argued that she is a public servant, not a government servant. That's why the government wants to introduce the word public servant to exempt them from foreign donations. The bill also proposes that 20% of the total foreign funds received could be used for administrative expenses. Previously, the limit was 50%. These are the three major amendments that are being introduced to FCRA. The next article is Make Ethics Code Must for All News Channels. You know that Supreme Court has made serious comments on National Broadcasting Association with regard to Sudarshan TV regulation. It suggested that a strong self-regulation is necessary in India. In this context, this article has come up. News Broadcasters Association's suggestions goes like this. It suggests code of ethics against airing malicious, biased and regressive content. And this code of ethics shall be applicable to all TV and news channels. It requested the Supreme Court to direct government to include ethical code into the program of Cable Television Network Rules 1994. National Broadcaster Services Authority, which is being created, shall be given recognition as an independent self-regulatory mechanism. Make it a body with strong powers to regulate and punish the violators. So NBSC's order should be made binding and enforceable on all the channels, and the penalty shall be made stringent. NBSC regulatory mechanism should be made mandatory for every channel. If a channel wants to get any new license or renew the existing permission, they have to follow the NBSC regulatory guidelines. That's what is the suggestion given by National Broadcasters Association to improve the quality of news channels and also to ensure that they function within broader framework of ethical code. So these are the articles for today. Thank you very much. Have a great day.